I worked as an overnight grocery stocker manager for 19 years. This happened about 15 years ago, and I'll never forget it. It was a regular night shift, and we had no incoming deliveries, so it was just the crew and I backstocking. Occasionally, someone from the meat department would stay late after hours and do a deep cleaning of their area about once a week. It was just after midnight when Mary, who worked in the meat department, came up to me. She was visibly shaken, in tears, and almost out of breath. She told me that there was a man standing in the meat department dressed in all black, motioning for her to come to him. She said she was scared and didn't know what to do. I told her to stay calm and grabbed another employee to check things out. We looked through the whole store, checking every aisle, the meat department, the back rooms. We checked everywhere, but there was no one. I reassured Mary that we had checked and there was nobody else in the store. It felt strange, but I tried to brush it off. Maybe she was just tired, or maybe she had imagined it. But to be honest, I still felt uneasy. Our closing manager always did the final walkthrough to make sure that everyone was out, and it was just us workers. After that, Mary went back to finish her work. I tried to get back to mine, but only a few minutes later, she came back up to me again, this time in full panic mode. She said that the man was back, standing in the meat department, motioning for her again. I told her to stay with me, and I grabbed the other employee once more. We looked around again. Nothing. No man or strange figure, just the empty store. At that point, I told Mary that she didn't have to finish her cleaning and she could go home for the night. I wasn't going to push her to work if she was that shaken up. She seemed relieved and left. The next morning, when the store manager came in, I told her what had happened. She didn't seem too concerned. She just pulled up the camera footage from the night before to see if anything strange had been caught on tape, but there was nothing. No sign of anyone standing in the meat department. Nobody in the store who shouldn't have been there. It was all business as usual on the cameras. The manager seemed to brush it off and said that it was probably just stress or exhaustion getting to Mary. The manager did mention that Mary had told her a strange story a few nights before about a customer in the store who had a knife. She hadn't said much else about it, but the manager figured Mary had just been stressed out and needed some time off work. The next night I came to work, someone told me that Mary had passed away. She had gone home after work the night I sent her home, went to bed, and never woke up. A cause of death was never identified. Mary was only 40 years old and was a healthy person. I've worked plenty of overnights since, but that was the weirdest thing that ever happened on my shift. It still gets to me sometimes, even though it happened decades ago now. Over the winter a few years ago, I went to the grocery store on a weeknight with my two kids, who were 14 and 15 years old, and one of their friends as well. It was a routine shopping trip on a weeknight at 7 p.m. As we were going through the store, I took notice of a young man. He was very well dressed in a designer coat, nice boots, done up from head to toe. He looked like he was in his mid to late 20s or so, good hair, just overall a good-looking person. He stood out to me because he just seemed too overdressed. As we proceeded through the store, I caught that the guy wasn't really with anyone and seemed to be in every aisle that I was in. He didn't have a cart and was on his phone a lot, and he kept picking up random items and pretending to look at the labels as if he was interested. He would pick up random items from a shelf, kind of pretend to seem like he was interested, and then put them back as my family and I would leave an aisle. He would follow us to the next aisle and do the same thing. This continued throughout the whole store. My family and I made our way to the checkout, bagged our groceries, and I gave a look around before we left to load the car. While loading the car, I saw the guy again. He looked at me and kind of made eye contact. Now for context, my 15-year-old son is 6'2", 200 pounds, and his buddy who was with us was almost as tall. I'm a thin woman, 5'10", and my 14-year-old daughter is on the thinner side. I told the kids to get in the car, gave them my purse, and told them to lock the doors. They did as I said, while I still had to return the shopping cart to the corral they're kept in. The guy was near the car parked in front of me now, so I stepped out in his path with the shopping cart, and I made it known that I saw him making direct eye contact with him. I work in corrections, so I have a defensive stance, and I'm ready to go for whatever, and I wanted to let this man know that by my body language. The guy was about 5 feet from me, and he picked up on the fact that I was aware of whatever was about to happen. He quickly turned around, did some kind of hand signal, and bolted. At this point, a big black SUV came down the next aisle of the parking lot, with completely tinted windows. The man jumped in, and the car sped off. wheels screeching as they left. I don't know what they had planned, but it was clear that I was a target from the beginning. A rather bold move considering I was not alone. I did contact the police department for that city and I made a report. They told me I was not the first person to contact them in recent weeks with the same situation. They put extra patrols out in the shopping center for a few weeks. I don't get scared easily, but that incident still shakes me. It was around 1 a.m. one night when I decided to go to the grocery store. I had just gotten off of a late night shift to work and wanted to go shopping now, since I knew I wouldn't feel like it later in the day after I woke up. The store I went to was open 24 hours, so I didn't think twice about heading out that late. Everything was normal at first. I was doing my usual thing, picking up the items I needed and trying to get in and out quickly. But after about 30 minutes of shopping, I started to feel like somebody was watching me. I tried to shake it off, telling myself I was just being paranoid, but it wasn't long before I noticed a guy who seemed to keep showing up in the same aisle that I was in. At first, it could have just been a coincidence, but after a while, it started to feel less like a coincidence and more like he was following me. I told myself to calm down and kept shopping. I didn't want to make a big deal out of something that could be nothing. When I finally made it to the checkout, I realized that I had left my wallet in the car. I was so annoyed with myself. I had to leave my basket at the counter and run back to my car to grab it. Since it was so late and the store wasn't busy, the cashier was nice enough to hold my stuff for me. When I got outside, I saw the same guy again. This time, he was standing right next to my car, looking down like he was searching for something on the ground. My heart started racing, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I called my cousin as I walked towards my car, telling her about the weird guy who kept following me. She was talking to me on the phone while I was walking, just to keep me calm. When I got close to my car, the guy finally spoke to me. He asked if I needed help with something, but I just shook my head and said no. Then, almost immediately, he asked me for directions. I wasn't interested in talking to him at all, so I told him to ask someone else. Right when I was about to get in the car, I saw another guy come from the other side of the parking lot. He looked at me and asked again, "Are you sure you don't need any help?" Something was definitely off about all this. I don't know what came over me, but I just screamed as loud as I could. I yelled, "No, get away from me." I kept shouting, "Get away from me," over and over, very loudly, and I think I took them by surprise. I don't think they were expecting that, and they sprinted off together in unison, confirming that they were together. Before I could react any further, the security guard from the store appeared. He must have heard me yelling and came running over. He chased after the two men who took off running. He didn't catch them, and since there were two of them, I don't think there was much the security guard could have done, but he did come back holding a bag that they had dropped. The bag was filled with some small knives and some tape. They were clearly looking to either rob me or worse. I still can't believe how close I came to being in a bad situation. If I hadn't been paying attention, or if I hadn't screamed for help, things could have turned out very differently. It was a scary experience, but I'm so glad I trusted my instincts and didn't stay quiet. That day I learned that in a bad situation, just loudly yelling can disorient and can cause panic among people with bad intentions.